Let's move on to Walmart, trading higher after fourth quarter earnings did beat on the top line, missed on revenue. Guidance also fell short of estimates. How do you play the world's largest retailer? Joining us this morning, Courtney Reagan, covers retail for CNBC, and Stacy Widlitz, president of SW Retail Advisors and a CNBC contributor. Guys, good morning to you
Carl.
both.
Hi.
Courtney,
Good morning.
Takeaways from where you sit.
You know, I think there's a lot to do with taxes in this report, both indirectly and directly, Carl. So we saw this beat on the top line by 10 cents. However, Walmart did have a favorable tax rate, better than what they and the street thought that they would get. So then we have to question a little bit the quality of that beat and then talk about taxes on the consumer. They did make comments about February and that those delayed tax refunds, Walmart believes, is the reason why their sales were disappointing to begin February. So I think taxes really became a headline here on both ends of the spectrum for Walmart.
Yeah, that's a good point. The low quality things, Stacy, certainly getting a lot of chatter. Do those emails that got leaked last week, are those meaningless if in fact people are finally starting to get their refund checks?
Right. So thanks to the guy with the fat finger who leaked those emails last week, because the expectations were set very low here. So the company told us that right before holiday, comps were double digits, but certainly things have slowed down in February. They've slowed down at Sam's Club and they've slowed down at Walmart itself. But they've told us now that the refunds are flowing in, the tax refunds, things are starting to stabilize a little bit. But I would point out, I think the biggest metric here that was concerning was that the traffic actually turned negative for the first time in 5 quarters. So you really have to be concerned about that.
Do you think Stacy, do you think that they're taking any, they argue they're taking share today in the release, although some just find that hard to believe given what comps have done sequentially and the challenges they're up against?
Right. So they said that, according to Nielsen, they gained 40 basis points of share. They talked about toys, consumer electronics, but the bottom line is their comps were disappointing here. And there's plenty of blame. You know, there's payroll tax, there's snow, there's gas prices. And finally, you know, I would also worry about the dollar stores. They're getting very aggressive in promoting and really attacking each other. So that's another thing to think about over the next couple of months.
Courtney, we did have an analyst on from Wells in the last hour. He said, look, it's a great American company, but it's a big boat and it doesn't move very fast anymore. When you couple the gas prices, Stacy mentions the dollar retailers and their own cost-cutting initiatives that some argue today are actually behind schedule.
That's very true. And obviously Walmart is a big international player too. U.S. is still sort of the biggest part of that ship. International saw some better comps. Brazil up almost 9%. Mexico up more than 2%. But like Stacy pointed out, the U.S. comps were disappointing. And the trend is what's a little concerning. We showed earlier the bar graph of both the comps and the traffic. And you can kind of see over the last year that both of them are starting to decrease. And that's somewhat of a concern. Again, we're going to watch all these macroeconomic pressures at play. Walmart saying in the media call they're changing some of the assortment in some of the locations, even making packaging a little smaller to help consumers.
Stacy, finally, what's a reasonable alternative if you're not into Walmart? I mean, do you gravitate to a Costco? I mean, do you go towards specialty, high-end specialty instead?
Well, you know, I think one of my favorite stories certainly is Limited, which is Victoria's Secret. I think you have to look for companies that are shortening their lead times, companies that actually have international expansion, and companies that own their space. And I think that falls into the category. Certainly other companies that are doing well in terms of investing online. And actually that's something that Walmart talked about today. They're spending money online, and they need to. It's about time. They've been falling behind in that category. So I would say that's the good piece of news that we heard from them today, in addition to the dividend increase.
Yeah, well, certainly Limited's had a nice record of retail sales beats in the past few months. Guys, thanks so much. It's a big name. You got to pay a lot of attention to it.